What is up, everyone? Whoa, never seen myself without a hat on before, but anyway, I am in spring project mode. As you guys saw a couple weeks ago, fixed the oil leak on the plane finally, and now today my goal is to change out the windsock, the actual sock on the windsock, but I need to do more than that. The windsock was kind of like a hodgepodge together setup that I built 5 years ago, and it's broken, like blown over a few different times. So I think what we need to do is build a whole new windsock assembly, something that can kind of fold down so I can service and change the sock and do all that. But first, let me show you what I've got going on, this little bit of a crap show of a windsock. All right, so there's a few issues with the windsock I have here. One, it's broken a few times at the coupling. Basically, all I did for this one was I just used some regular gas pipe that is concreted into the ground. It went to a coupling that went to another piece of gas pipe, and that has a little adapter to get down to the 3/4 inch threads that fit the windsock ball bearing part. So the problem is it keeps breaking at this coupling, or actually the pipe breaks, the threads do. So as of the last, I don't know, better part of a year, it's been held on with hose clamps, which is obviously not the most ideal setup for this. And then also, I don't know if you noticed, the placement of this tree kind of blocks it. So if there's a south wind, the wind will be shadowed by that tree. The other thing is the hanger right behind us is also kind of shadowing it. So my goal today is to not only build a new windsock pole system, but we're gonna move it somewhere that is less shadowed so it can be a little more accurate. Okay, now figuring out where to start. Now I know I told you guys in a previous video that I was getting into welding. I picked up this TIG welder. It's an Everlast 250EX off Facebook Marketplace. Been teaching myself how to weld with mixed results. The first project was building myself a welding table. So kind of wanted to show you guys this thing because I'm kind of proud of it. Basically, I want everything in this hanger to be able to move. I don't want it to be fixed. So I've got it on these little castering wheels that have ratcheting, leveling feet that go down that will lock the table into position. So when you want it to sit somewhere and not move so that you can like wrench on things on it, you can do that, but then when you're done, you can push it out of the way. Outside of that, it's just got a 3/8 inch steel plate. So this thing's pretty heavy. I mean, the top's like 500 pounds. So I think the whole thing probably weighs like 800 pounds. But what I did is I set this up as like kind of my drilling, grinding, clamping side. And I also made this the cutting side. So what I did here was I built a little drawer. And that just holds this little Harbor Freight bandsaw chop saw thing. And then I added these extensions on each side to support the material. So it just telescopes, 3D printed little sleeves in there. So that way you can just put the material through, it supports both ends, do all your cutting, and then when you're done, you just put everything away. You know, I need to fold this down. But then the other thing I added was this kind of fixture table end. So this thing, you just literally just snap it up into place. Then you can use this for like clamping things down. It extends, it's relatively flat. It's not like a true welding fixture table because I'm not doing anything that important. So this allows you to clamp to this thing, 2-foot extension on the 8-foot table, makes it 10 foot. And I made it the exact same height as the lev rack bench, which is another 8.5 feet. So overall, if I want to push it up against there, I got 18.5 feet of like workspace. Anyway, that's the update. I am far from a pro welder or even like a decent welder, but it's little projects like this that are gonna get me practice to where at some point, hopefully I'm able to repair things. I'm not ever intending to like weld wing struts on an airplane. That's super critical, but being able to do some repairs here and there would be nice on, you know, pretty much anything out here. Anyway, what I'm going to get set up to do is let's cut some 1.5 inch square steel. I'm gonna find a way to make it hinge, and I bought some weights that I'm gonna use as a counterweight so it's easier to lift up and down when servicing the windsock. So let's get into that. Okay, everything is cut and I want to show you guys my plan. So basically I've got my 10-foot stick, which is going to be the top portion, that is going to get this little piece as a cap for the steel, and then this little 3/4 inch pipe thread coupling which is what attaches to the ball bearing windsock holder. So that'll be the top part. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add angle iron over the ends of this on both sides, which is gonna be a little funky, but what it'll allow me to do is to have the whole thing pivot at a point, and then the angle iron will actually, basically imagine this was the pivoted version, it's gonna go down and slide right over that. That way I can put a bolt through here, a pin through the bottom, and that way when you pull the pin, you can tilt things down, if that makes sense. And then the only other thing that I cut, little piece of 1-inch steel that will allow me to set weights over this. And then we gotta go dig a hole. Anyway, that's gonna be the top that will hold the windsock. Now we need to work our way to putting the angle iron on the lower part of this. Houston, we have a little bit of a problem. I'm gonna try to explain what it is. So basically, this bolt, I don't know if you can see it, this fits in great, but the problem is when I go to pivot it, it goes to a certain point and then it's hitting right here. So it can't go quite to 90. And I think if it made it to 90, I mean, I think this thing's only gonna be sticking out 3 feet out of the ground. So there's a good chance I could reach the top right now, but what I think I'm gonna do is just get the grinder, jump in here and just like clearance this out a little bit. That would allow it to get fully to 90. All things considered, it's not that big of a problem. And then when you check out how well this fits, this goes in right there. Pin will drop in just like that, nice and tight, so it shouldn't get too beat up from the wind. And then I just gotta weld the little holder for the weights. And I think I'm gonna need a lot more weight than I expected. I originally thought I could do it with like 35 pounds, but this thing's way heavier than I expected. Anyway, at least I made the pole long enough I can add some weight to it. All right, that should be the last weld that I just did around this little round pipe. And then, in theory, take one of these weights. It should, what if I grab the wrong size pipe? That'd be funny. Should fit right over there. All right, now I think it's time to, one, figure out where we're gonna put the windsock, and then I gotta go dig or drill the hole. So I'm gonna run to the neighbor's house, grab the auger, and then bring it back, and let's go place this thing. Well, I just got back with the auger attachment, and now my skid steer won't start. I guess I'm gonna have to go back and do this the hard way. Grab a fence post digger out of the shipping container and yeah, just use some brute force. Let's grab some tools and go dig a hole. Okay, the concrete, fence post concrete is in the ground, ready to go. I know I'm gonna get flack from some of you guys for using the mix in place or just pour water on fence post mix. I'm just telling you, I've used it a bunch, never had any issues. It's always set super strong. The windsock that I have right now is still using that, and that one I only got like a 1 foot deep hole because I did it late in the summer. So with this one being 3 feet down, I'm not too concerned, but again, if it falls over, I'll just redo it. So anyway, we're at the point where we just gotta wait. But being down here at the end of the runway made me think I should chat with you guys about something. Some of you guys that have been following for a while know that Haley and I seeded the runway a while back, actually a couple times. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's taken pretty well. I have to mow it every year. But there's a couple downsides. One, it kind of likes to grow in clumps. So I don't know if you can tell this here, but basically each one of these clumps is just like, you know, its own little grouping of grass, and each of those grows, and then the water around it will kind of erode. So all of this ends up being really rough, which again, I'm on bush wheels, so it's not that big a deal, but when I want to invite friends in that have smaller tires, then I start worrying about this. Obviously, there is the option that I could try to roll it when it's really wet, but I don't have like a big roller thing, and then my dang skid steer's on the fritz, so that's not really an option. So I don't have a good way of grading and keeping this smooth with all the grass. So I'm kind of toying with the idea, and I know this would be going totally backwards, of coming through, scraping all the grass out, leveling it really nice, and then hitting it with like a pre-emergent weed killer. Then bringing in some DG or decomposed granite and just laying that down. And that way I could use the quad with a little drag behind it and just drag it every couple weeks. And then it would be kind of like a baseball diamond, And obviously with the asphalt up at the top, most of my dust concerns are pretty much alleviated. If there's any of you guys that are really into dirt stuff and have a better idea of something else to use for the surface out here that I could actually maintain and keep smooth, let me know. But for now, this works great if you're on bush wheels. It's just if, when Ty's on floats, I'd be a little worried about his floats coming in and out of here, which again, I would love to get a set of floats at some point. So I don't know, that's a problem for future me. For now, I'm gonna get this stuff packed up and cleaned up in the shop. Tomorrow morning, let's come back out here and get this windsock finished up. That was kind of gratifying. I gotta do that one more time before I put the pin in it, but check out how like neutrally balanced I'm like using one finger right now. Go lower that thing. Sets perfectly on the quad, so perfect height. And when you're ready to go back up, just toss it like that. And that's it. All right, I'm gonna call that a success. Not bad considering most of this metal was just stuff I had sitting around from other welding projects. So nice little project. Glad to get that done. Now I don't have to worry about that for the rest of the summer. And back to flying stuff. See you guys in the next one.